So when we write down these specific affirmations of the higher version of ourselves, and we state it positively, affirmatively,
yep,
and we do it over a period of 30 days, and we keep doing it, that's one way to actually change how we identify with ourselves. And there's a connection between our mental fitness and our personal identity.
Well, we're on to part 2 of how mental fitness turns fear into opportunity. Jamal's going to take some time to lay out some amazing tips during this episode. So feel ready for the 30-day challenge, 24-hour challenge, and I hope you enjoy as much as I did.
and being able to share about what that growth mindset does for you, you know, when you are changing that from, hey, that as a failure, like that's an opportunity.
Yes.
It's an opportunity to learn and grow.
Some of the greatest opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can look back on life, right? And I can see, so I shared with you, right? But part of my story, you know, at least on the athletic side too, is major arm injury, right? As a pitcher, right? Snapped my ligaments, right? While I was pitching, you know, identity, thought my career was over, the whole thing. And then having to go through the recovery process, right? Choosing day by day to show up regardless of where I was at. Many of the days feeling like, nah, it's not the day. I'm out. I don't want to do this. This is hard. You know, what happened and what felt like failure in so many ways presented itself with opportunity.
And that sense of taking consistent action, continuing to move forward.
Yeah.
Right. That's the definition of courage. It's been said that to be courageous is not the absence of fear. Right. So we can acknowledge that we're afraid to be rejected. We're afraid of being criticized. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of confrontation.
Yep.
In therapy, we create a exposure tree, right? Where we identify, okay, what are all your fears? Fear number 1, fear number 2, fear number 3, fear number 4, and which of these are you most afraid of? And then you come up with a plan with your therapist to actually gently walk toward those fears.
Yep.
And so to be courageous is not to have an absence of fear, it's to see it there, to acknowledge it, but to take action in that direction anyway.
Yeah. Big time. That courage, right? And I think, you know, I didn't name it earlier, but I loved when you first off talked about the acknowledgement of fear. Like, hey, it's okay. People struggle to just be like, it's okay to feel fear. You know, like, I mean, like get into the biology of it. Like we need to feel fear. That's the way
we feel it.
Right?
We feel it in our chest.
Yeah.
We feel it in our shoulders. We get headaches, migraines.
Right? Like, and that, like, and the way that goes through our body, you know, and recognizing how, like, hey, if we can actually, instead of, you know, like, I can't touch that, instead of giving it a moment of acknowledgement, then I think can take away a lot more of that, you know, overwhelmingness, you know?
And this goes into the topic of toxic masculinity. Right? Because I know for me growing up, and even as an adult, when it comes to being masculine, I was taught not to be a punk, not to be a sissy, not to be a coward.
Yep.
And I remember saying things like, if you're going to be crying like a crybaby, I want to give you a reason to cry. Right? Because many of us are conditioned and socialized to, quote unquote, not have any fear.
Yep.
But now as a 42-year-old man, with a healthier understanding of what it means to be masculine, to all the men out there who are listening to this, you got fear. As a matter of fact, oftentimes our anger, as you know this, John, is a secondary
Mm-hmm.
emotion,
Yep.
right? As men, we may present as being angry
Mm.
and get labeled by our coach,
Mm.
our significant other, or this our administration as
Mm.
having an anger problem. Well, really internally, and I was afraid, and to protect myself, I presented as being angry. So I think that us acknowledging our fear, particularly as men, is important
Mm.
because the women in our lives, our daughters, in places of leadership amongst men and women, I think it's healthiest for us as men to be comfortable acknowledging that we are human.
Mm-hmm.
And by nature of being human, we experience fear in our body. We
Mm-hmm.
have fears tied to anxiety,
Yep.
but we learn to practice self-control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of being mentally fit is that self-control piece.
Big time. Right. That part right there, that self-control, that it's possible. It's possible not to become overwhelmed by anxiety, by fear.
Mm-hmm.
That, by one acknowledging it, I think is absolutely huge. Like you get a chance to like normalize it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you get a chance to like naturalize this idea that this is a part of being human, that it is okay. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've had to tell that to myself, but I've also seen it in others where there's been this moment where I've used that phrase, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just see it in the face, right? You just see this like, it's okay, which I
Mm-hmm.
think translate is I'm okay. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay, for this, for having fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think tying in that mental fitness portion of it, when you are able to practice that on a consistent basis, right? When you are maybe able to do something that interrupts that overwhelming fear, and being able to make that a thing. That's something that I recognize, as important. And man, what I hear that you're saying.
And when you talk about practicing on a regular basis, we can train our mind to
Mm-hmm.
think differently.
Mm-hmm.
One powerful intervention that we can do is, obviously we have so much resources when it comes to technology, um, laptops, iPads, smartphones, electronic resources. But one of the most powerful things that still holds true is thinking on paper,
Mm-hmm.
to take a pen or a pencil and a pad and to actually write out affirmations of the higher version of yourself, to
Mm-hmm.
actually write out your specific goals. Because when
Man.
we actually write things out, something
Yep.
happens between our conscious mind and subconscious mind.
Yep.
We can write it out on a piece of paper
Yep.
and throw that paper away somewhere, but
Yep.
it still got ingrained in our subconscious, and we're more likely to move toward that vision, move toward that goal.
You're honing in on, right? Like a applicable thing, right? Something that's practical that you can lean in on. And when you talk about the impact of, getting into pen, paper, affirmation, you are literally rewiring, right? Like you are get into the brain of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that practice part is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
You just like the brain was wired in maybe some ways, reinforced, and the negative portions of that, man, the other way can happen. The positive, the affirmations that you can really lean into.
I would encourage our audience to do a 30-day challenge
Okay.
where they get a pen, notepad, and they write out their affirmations, um, positively. So I am losing 20 pounds in the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I am going to ask 5 people out on a date.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to increase my income by 20% in the next six
Mm.
months. Whatever goal they have, to
Yep.
make it specific, measurable, attainable, time oriented, and to write it positively like it's already happened.
Yeah.
Like I am, it is. Because it restructures the brain. And it's like one of the best ways I heard it put is the captain and the crew,
Mm.
where when you think about having this captain of a cruise ship,
Yep.
the crew is trained to take orders from the
Mm.
captain. So if the captain of the ship says to go left, the crew said, "Oh, go left, go left, go
Mm.
left." If the captain says go right, well, we're going to go right, go right, go right. If the
Mm.
captain says we are brilliant, we are brilliant, we are brilliant, we are brilliant. If the captain
Mhm.
says we are irresponsible, the crew says we are irresponsible, we're irresponsible.
Yeah.
There's the captain represents our conscious mind.
Yeah.
The crew represents our subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So when we write down these specific affirmations of the higher version of ourselves,
Mm.
and we state it positively, affirmatively, and we do it over a period of 30 days and we keep
Mm.
doing it, that's one way to actually change how we identify with ourselves.
Mm.
And there's a connection between our mental fitness and our personal identity.
Yep.
Like for you and I, we had to learn that our identity wasn't in being athletes.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because if it was, we would be screwed.
Yep. Yep. Right. It got taken away, right? In so many ways, right? It changes, it transforms. And man, I love that idea. I love the 30-day challenge. I love the idea of writing out affirmations, right? And that the audience gets a chance to apply that. You know, I would say just try with curiosity, right? No judgment, just try it, you know, and see what happens from the list that you gave, right? But I love it. Fill in the I am, right? It is that there are these positive pieces, and for 30 days, you know, give it a shot and see where you land.
One more thing that artists could do
Okay.
is they can have 24 hours of fearlessness.
Ooh, tell me about this one.
Well, it's inspired by I participated in a faith-based recovery group. I love the 12 steps. I'm a huge fan of
Mm.
the 12 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whether you're a person of faith or not, because the 12 steps really walk you through a framework of how you
Mm.
can really get healthy when it comes to whatever issues you have.
Mm.
And I remember I was in a faith-based um, program called Regen,
Mm.
doing my self-care, because you know our self-care is so critical for us.
Needed. Yep.
And one of the devotionals in this faith-based recovery program called Regen, I remember it talking about 24 hours of sobriety.
Mm.
So this idea of if someone has an alcohol problem
Yep.
or a substance abuse problem, just committing to 24 hours of being sober.
Yep.
And what I think about is, well, what about that person who struggles with anxiety? That
Mm.
person who's genuinely afraid, and maybe for them it's not 24 hours of sobriety, it's
Mm.
24 hours of fearlessness,
There it is.
24 hours of courage,
Yep.
where from the time you wake up, every time you feel fear in your
Mm.
body or you have a fearful thought, you lean into it
Yep.
and you
Mm.
get curious about it. Okay, what is this fear telling me? Why is this
Love it.
fear in my body? And once you get curious about that fear, acknowledge it, like we talked about,
Yep.
normalize it,
Yep.
but then ask yourself, what is the most fearless thing I could do right now? What is the courageous step to take? What is the courageous decision to make
Mm.
right now? And then move in that direction. And I'll end with this. I cannot think of the quote, but basically, it's this sense of if you want to kill anxiety, if you want to end
Mm.
anxiety, if you want to build your self confidence, if you want to build your self worth, and you
Mm.
want to show up with clarity, confidence, and courage, walk toward your fears.
Mm.
And the more you walk toward your fears, move toward your fears, they will die.
Man. Mm. I love that, man. I
And
love that.
some of us learn to adopt that lifestyle, like
Mm.
a lifestyle of courageously walking toward our fears,
Yep. Yep.
conquering our fears.
Yeah, it can happen, right? Like, I think that's the hope, you know, like in whether it's mental fitness and the ways that it can change and transform. And in so many of these aspects that you're talking about, man. But I love these things right here, man. The 24 hours of fearlessness. Hey, if that's not trademarked by now, that's all yours. Get that out there, man. Get that out there. Let's
Duly
go.
noted.
Let's go. I love that.
And if it helps, I can call it 24 hours of courage.
Okay, 24 hours of courage. Man, because it's
Psychologically, if
beautiful.
that makes a difference, 24 hours of courage, because now they're focused on being courageous.
Yep.
But yeah, I may have to go get a lawyer soon.
You may, man. That is so true. But man, well, hey, Jamal, I love this. I love being able to talk about these things and just be able to go through all the aspects, right? And you already did what I was thinking, as you were going through it. I was going to, kind of bring in a little bit of that summary. Hey, let's do this, let's do that. But shoot, man, you already laid that out. So as listeners, right, and what you're looking for, right? I mean, there are these things that Jamal laid out. I'll have them down as well. If you scroll down, you'll be able to see these things. And right now, you got two possible challenges. One's a 30-day challenge, affirmations. I am, it is, fill them out, do it. The other one, man, 24 hours of fearlessness and courage. And just roll with that, man. Just roll with it.
I'm on.
And crush it. Do your thing. Do your thing. So, hey, Jamal, it's been a pleasure, my man. Yes. It's been a pleasure for sure. I know we'll do this again.
I look forward to it.
Okay. We got much more to walk through and talk about as well. But at least for now, we'll be doing this. So, like I said, much appreciated. And man, we're looking forward to the next time for sure.
Thank you, Brother John. I had so much fun today.
Definitely. Before I do, and I'll make sure all of these are out there as well. But hit me real quick with just a few ways to get a hold of you. That's one that I got to make sure of. So, and again, for listeners and audience, I'll be listing them. I'll make sure that they're out there, but just so they can hear it from you. How can you be found, knowing that you want to be found?
Anyone listening, if you are a high achieving professional and you're in need of a individual therapist, or you need a marriage counseling, I specialize in helping individuals, adults, or maybe your corporation or business, church or nonprofit needs a therapist to come in to present a workshop seminar. I help individuals, couples, and organizations take inspired action with more clarity, confidence, and courage. You can go to my website, Central Valley Christian Council, council spelled COUNSEL.com. If you are a therapist in private practice and you're struggling with your business mindset, your money mindset, you're undercharging for your services, you have too big a caseload because you're undercharging, and frankly, you're burnt out, and you want to design a practice that allows you to have a greater impact in the lives of your clients, while at the same time increasing your income to avoid burnout, you can reach me at thepurposedriventherapist.com. In March, I'm going to be launching a cohort, a group of 6 therapists in private practice to work on our business and money mindset, marketing, and sales. And sales is service. To sell is not always a bad thing or a bad person. And if you're a therapist in private practice, the sooner you learn that, the longer you'll be in business.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Oh, man, that is it. Beautiful. I love it, man. Well, hey, we'll make sure get that stuff out there. Yeah, like I said earlier, man, it's such a pleasure. I love just hanging and being able to talk and, man, just go through these things together. That's the way I would do it.
Thank you, Brother John. It's great to be here today.
You bet. You bet. All right. And make sure to click subscribe if you are watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on any podcast format, make sure to follow or like it, as there are more interviews and tips coming in the future. Thanks for listening / watching Mental Fitness Stories with John Steele. Remember to stay curious without judgment towards your journey in mental fitness. Until next time.
Part 2 of How Mental Fitness Turns Fear into Opportunity is now complete. Jamal Jones dropped some amazing tips. I hope you take that 30-day affirmation challenge. I hope you explore the 24 hours of fearlessness and courage and see the impact it can make. We're also continuing to build this mental fitness community. I'm super excited as you will see things in the future, specifically a mental fitness stories group pop up on Facebook where more content will be released and a chance to continue this dialogue. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. And with that, I hope you continue to stay tuned for more episodes dropping next week. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey through mental fitness stories with John Steele. If you resonated with today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review on your podcast platform of your choice. Remember, your story is important, and so is your mental well-being. If you have a personal mental fitness journey you'd like to share or topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, reach out to us on social media or through our website. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, expert insights, and practical tips to help you cultivate a resilient mind. Until next time, take care of your mind, nurture your inner dialogue, and prioritize your self-care. Remember, you are not alone, and your mental fitness and well-being is worth the investment. Thanks for being a part of the Mental Fitness Stories community.